Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all and peace out to the rest of you. Um, for watching, and I'll start by asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I've been not very active lately, less active than before, and there's a good reason for it. In the end, I've been very busy. First, second, and half of December, I was very busy with exams. And I mention this because this is going to have to do with the reason that I've got for going live and talking about this. Then the first half of January, my wife and I took a couple's vacation. My girlfriend came along too. What's going on, Blasian? How's everything? Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah bin Bobby. كيف حالك؟ سررت برؤيتك مرة ثانية. So, yeah, when I say my girlfriend came along, don't shoot me, Abdullah. It's the same lady as my wife. They're the same one. It was funny because when we were on our way, we were on the taxi to the airport to catch the flight out to where we were going to vacation. The taxi drivers asked us, so are y'all boyfriend and girlfriend? Are y'all married? And my wife and I looked at each other, looked back at the taxi cab driver and said, both. So we got a good laugh about that one. So in any case, that's why I've not been really as active as I would have normally been. I have posted, but not as much. And let's see, when was the last day that I posted? That was maybe 7 days ago. Might have been the last time that I put anything up. And yeah, 7 days ago. And then before that, it was 6 days before that. So once I went on vacation, I had very little time to sit down and really record. It wasn't that I forgot about y'all. And Blasian, funny thing is, man, in one of the discords, Salaam alaikum. I'm sorry, walaikum salam, Charles Irving. What's going on? By the way, I got good news for you and Abdullah both. And for any of the other ikhwan that are listening in. You know, dating's not really that common as far as we can see. But people are getting desensitized to it. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm in the Middle East. I can't say exactly which country for obvious reasons. People love the docs and, cost you jobs and stuff. But yeah, I'm in the Middle East. Um, and actually, Blasian, in one of the servers that the Golden Sphere is on, and yeah, one of the Discord servers, I woke up one morning, our time, and it was in the Americas, it would have been evening. Um, and I think that where you live is the same as Eastern time in the US. Uh, yeah, you can. I went to several of the Emirates. I went to more than one Emirate. Um, I wouldn't have said that while I was there, but now that I'm gone from there, yeah, I went to more than one Emirate. Um, so in any case, I got up one morning in the Golden Sphere server, Blasian. There was this argument going on. You may have seen, maybe you saw it, um, and I thought, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the ladies were upset with me. Of course, I'm used to that, but I thought it doesn't really matter how upset they are with me. The fact is that what I found out was that there are some who they don't fully recognize the value of men. While I'm ready to recognize the value of men and women intrinsically, I realized that there were even some guys that didn't recognize men's value. Um, but anyway, so I recorded this. I mean, I came on live to talk about something that I learned about when I got back from vacation. I've talked about this before, and I don't make any apologies for saying that Islam is the solution. It's not that I can force anybody and wouldn't want to, but I don't apologize for saying that for various reasons. And I'm not sure if my kinfolk is listening or not, but Abdullah and Charles, I think you guys might be glad to know that one of my relatives reached out to me, found my channel, recognized the voice, reached out to me and said, Black, I'm ready to convert. I'll give you time to digest that. And I said to this relative of mine, listen, kinfolk, if you're ready and I passed away tomorrow, if you're ready and it's independent of our blood tie, and I passed away tomorrow and you'd still be convinced, then you are ready. If it has to do with the blood tie and family loyalty, I appreciate that. But that's not really going to be the reason. It's got to be independently of me because I don't get to determine how long I'm going to stick around. And you don't either. And I had to say to him, listen, remember when your grandfather was buried? You were closer to him than anyone else. And when he was buried, you missed him, but you couldn't get in that grave with him. It's not your fault. It doesn't mean you didn't love him, but you couldn't get in with him. You couldn't. And it's the same thing for everybody. And so if this is your reason, then you're ready. And kinfolk said, yeah, Black, that's my reason. Now, what I found out about when I got back from vacation is something else, though. And I realized that this kinfolk of mine is going to have to go through something similar and probably, and has actually had to go through this because this is what I'm about to talk about actually affects everybody, no matter what their faith is. Unless, of course, they have no conscience as well. Now, we don't all agree on religion, but we do agree on most of morality and the conscience. When I got back from vacation, I found out, and you guys know from previous stories that when I teach, I don't tolerate cheating. I don't even tolerate laziness, but I definitely do not tolerate cheating. And that when exam times come, my job is actually to search the students as they come in so that they don't bring any cell phones in. Doesn't matter if it's a dumb phone or a smartphone. And I told my colleagues that also do that same job with me, listen, when we sweep these metal detectors over them, we can't sit up here and routinely leave out the neck or routinely leave out the back of the leg, or definitely we can't routinely leave out the shoe. Because wherever we routinely don't search is going to be where they routinely hide the phones and then walk in with them. I told my colleagues this. Some listened, some did not. Some students got caught coming into, or they got caught in the testing halls with cell phones. And that's open cheating right there. Having the cell phone in the classroom with you is cheating. That means you smuggled it past my colleagues and me. That's the first thing. But I would sweep everything. I insisted on being thorough, and one day the line got long, and I still kept on searching thoroughly. And when some of the security guards, who are actually citizens from here, and they're not interested in being thorough, said, hey, yo, Black, can you speed it up? I said to them, I can be fast, but I'm going to be thorough. Be quick. And I told them to shut up. See, now I'm starting to wonder who you're covering for. I know you got a long line. I didn't tell all of them to show up at the same time, but this happens many times. 5-10 minutes before the exam time start, there is a long line because they wait till the last minute. We're going to search them thoroughly to make sure they don't bring the phones in, because if I was intent on bringing a phone in and I was one of them, I would wait until right now when the line is long so that they'd feel rushed. That's when I would do it. This is actually when it's the most important time to search them thoroughly. Check the shoes. And I say that because at times when you decide that you're going to maintain integrity, somebody's going to come against you. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy that did his job. But there's always an undercurrent of corruption where I work. And a lot of you have been in similar situations before. Salute, Alonzo. How's everything, man? So this is what wound up happening. And y'all hit the share button. I found out when I got back that an administrator at my job, he's one of my bosses, actually, he was my direct supervisor, was teaching supplemental classes in person, which is allowed because the supplemental classes, one, there's no grade attached to them. Two, they're so uncrowded that in a regular sized classroom, everybody can space out, maintain social distance, and it doesn't violate the rules. But somewhere, a student found out somehow. I don't know if he told or if the student found out, but the student found out that he was also an administrator, not just an English professor, but an administrator. What do you think this student decided to do? I mean, I'll give y'all time. You want me to play the music again while y'all think about it? I can't lie, that beat was slamming, but yeah. Maybe I should play it again and give you guys time to think, or give you time to type. But what do you think the students did when they realized he was an administrator? I'll give you guys a hint though. Hold on. Well, Blasian, the thing is that when he was teaching the supplemental class, that was okay. It was allowed because as long as everyone has enough space to maintain the social distancing, then it's not a violation. But you know what? That did happen later, though, Blasian. What wound up being the case was that the students threatened the administrator and said, you make sure that I get a good grade on the final exam. The way that this administrator caved into the threat was so obvious that I think he wanted to get caught. A ministry of the government got involved in an investigation with this. First, it was the school or the university was doing it, but somewhere down the line, somebody called one of the ministries of the government. They got involved. Government ministry got involved. Oh boy, that's something right there. Oh my God. So this administrator actually told another administrator that, yeah, he did it. He took the paragraph writing portion of the test, unstapled the student's exam, separated the paragraph writing page of the exam because the student didn't write the paragraph. He attached another paragraph writing page with the paragraph written on it in different handwriting and different color ink. Nothing matched. Even the test codes. We have test codes A, B, C, D. The test codes didn't match. The administrator did this so sloppily that he was trying to get himself caught. Reason he must have been trying to get himself caught was because, well, he was under threat. I don't know what they threatened him with. How's it going? I'm listening. How's everything? I don't know what they used to threaten him. What I do understand is that they threatened him, and he confessed and said, I did it under threat. I didn't do it because I wanted money. I did it because he threatened me, and nobody was going to defend me. My own boss would not defend me if the student came to harm me. You know what? That's very true. His own bosses told me repeatedly, Professor Mind, let the students cheat the attendance. He hasn't said it explicitly, let them cheat, but he says, if you catch them cheating the attendance system, don't expel them from the class or mark them absent. Now, that's the same thing as saying, let them cheat the attendance system with impunity. They log into the class electronically. You catch them not actually being there. And mind you, in all Gulf countries, students get stipends to study, all of them. So logging into a class, I mean university students, if they're citizens, and if they don't have bad grades, then they get stipends to study. So when they log in and then they actually don't stay with the class, what happens is that they're now defrauding the government. It's not enforced that strictly, or it has not been. But the thing is that every government in the Gulf is generally cracking down on corruption. Every single one of them. Across the border in Saudi, y'all may have heard about the Crown Prince. They're cracking down on it back in 2017. Well, other nations followed suit. If they had problems with it already, they followed suit wherever they could find it. So we've been told to just let them get away with this. Now that the government is investigating, do you think the government is going to find that I went along with this, or do you think they're going to find that I stood against it? The thing is, I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to give a lesson. And if my kinfolk who recently became Muslim is listening, then this will probably help you out as well. And you've been through this before, but this may help you to remember the lessons for later on. You get opposed when you want to maintain some kind of integrity, and other people are looking at bottom lines, trying to save time or trying to save money. Maintaining integrity saves money and time in the long run, but it may cost some of it in the short run. But it's worth it in the end when you know that the ones who did not maintain integrity are getting caught. And you know that either you're not going to be interrogated or somebody has to lie on you for that to happen. Then you, at that point, you're glad about it. So when you decide you're going to maintain integrity and people want to put you through some sort of inconveniences for it, keep in mind that there comes a time when they get busted. And that becomes your vacation. That's what that means. My dad maintained integrity before he retired. And in his field, he was actually one of the best in his state, according to one of the metrics that they used to rank his colleagues. There are different ways they rank them, but he was best in a particular category for 22 years. It came at a cost of a good relationship with his bosses at various sites. And he was sometimes asked not to go back to some of them because even though he got better results in the long run, and he saved them money from lawsuits, he prevented lawsuits. They still said, yeah, but right now you're costing us. He wasn't making them lose money. He was just costing them to where they weren't earning as much in the short term, but they were saving in the long term. He had to do that. He had to deal with this. But then whenever lawsuits came anyway, everyone knew that it wasn't him, that he had nothing to do with it. Then they would call back because sometimes as part of these lawsuits, negative publicity, of course, would arise, and they would have to clean up their image. And how do you clean up your image when the workplace itself is infested with corruption? You go back and you look for people that you know are solid, that at least are not corrupt and they maintain integrity. That's when he'd get these calls back, and then he would say, yeah, but my rates have doubled. I'll go back, but my rates have doubled because you're calling on short notice. And that's exactly what it is that a lot of us have to face. So what lie did they tell you, Abdullah? What was the lie that they told you as to why they wouldn't give you that diploma? I'll give you time to type it, but yeah, this will wound up happening. And to be honest with you, Blasian, I love my job being an educator, and I'm glad that I work here instead of working in the States where I used to. I can tell you some horror stories about the States. There was a time I worked in Atlanta, but I never worked for Atlanta public school systems. Now, Blasian, where you live, this may not have made the news, but in the States, the Atlanta cheating scandal made the news. And the cheating scandal, it involved people that work specifically for the Atlanta city public school system. And the superintendent was named Beverly Hall. She passed the buck down. She told principals, if the students fail the state exams, then I'm going to fire you. So the principals then turned around and they passed this down to the teachers. Now the teachers don't have the option of forcing the students to do anything. So the students, of course, weren't going to perform because they didn't want to. Students decided, nah, you know what, like they always do, we're not going to do any work. We're not actually going to study. So when it comes to the state exams or the standardized tests, they were going to fail. So the teachers had to have parties with each other in which they were changing answers so that the students would score better. The students didn't cheat. The teachers had to cheat for the students to keep their jobs. Now, you might say, why would a bunch of teachers have parties at each other's houses to do it, to cheat like this? Well, the reason was because if they did not cheat, they absolutely would have been fired. That was a guarantee. But if they did cheat, as long as they did not get caught, they could keep their jobs. They got caught. Beverly Hall wound up getting cancer and passing away. So the FBI decided not to prosecute her, I think. But in state court, some of these teachers had to stand trial on federal charges, state court with federal charges, RICO charges, racketeering, things like that, because it's a type of corruption. And they got sentenced. They may still be there. They got sentences to penitentiaries with violent criminals because they had to cheat to keep the jobs, or they have the option of not cheating, but definitely getting fired. Now, the thing is, because they got caught cheating. Here's the thing, Blasian. They can't go back to that profession when they get out of prison. If you didn't cheat and you got fired, you could still keep your teaching license. You just had to go look for another job. So what wound up happening was that they felt forced. I'm sure they thought that they were forced, but they gave up their integrity, and now they can't go back to teaching even when they get done. When I got to my hometown, this was after the cheating scandal. I got to my hometown by 2012. I was teaching the first half of 2013. And one day after my students had taken a state test, and this is not in Georgia, but somewhere along the Gulf Coast, my students had to take a state test around the springtime. And so I was carrying their test papers to this scanner that would automatically scan the bubble sheet, upload the grades, send it to the county school systems headquarters. It was automatic. And I remember a lady named Miss Smith stopped me. She was the history teacher for 8th grade. And she stopped me and she said, "Mr. Mind, if you don't change some of them students' answers before you scan them, you're going to lose your job. You need to change some of them, just a few of them, raise your scores a little bit, or they ain't going to never call you back." Well, the thing was, see, I knew that they knew that I had taught in Atlanta, not for the public school system where the scandal happened, but they knew that I'd been a teacher in Atlanta. Now, what I did in my mind is I said, okay, maybe this is a setup, maybe not, but assume that it is a setup. When people ask you to do something that's corrupt somehow, assume you're being set up. Because if they don't have the integrity to not ask you to do it, how are they going to have the integrity to fuck the shuck up and not rat you out when they get caught? They're not going to. If people have a lack of integrity, they got a lack of integrity for the most part. Now, it's one thing when people are corrupt according to someone else's rules because of a cause. But if that's not what it is, if it's just a selfish motive, assume you're being set up. Because if they get busted, it's the same thing as you being set up. So I looked at her and I said, "Well, ma'am, Ms. Smith, if I change the answers, oh, they ain't going to catch you. Because, see, you just keep the papers in your drawer. But when you scan it, it's not going to pick up the erasure marks." I told her, "No, I don't even have an eraser to do it, to be honest with you. Because the students always coming in without pencils, so I have to give them out, and I don't have any erasers left. So I couldn't do it anyway." But you see, and I told her the thing is, I'm being set up. So I went ahead and told her I'm being set up. And she flinched. Now, why would she flinch when she hears me tell her that I'm being set up? She was either really shocked by the news or she was in on it, one of the two. Nobody told me that I was being set up. I just made a pessimistic assumption for the sake of safety. And here's the thing. I did not get called back to that job, but I was able to still teach. I kept my teaching license. When I got a phone call from the recruiter for this job I now have, the recruiter said, "Do you have a teaching license from any one of the 50 states or U.S. territories?" I said, "Yeah, actually I do. I still got the Georgia teaching license." And she said, "Okay, all right, that'll work. Well, we got a job for you here in the Middle East, and you don't have to speak Arabic. You'll be teaching English. What you think about that?" And I jumped at it. I was like, "Yeah, that'll work," because I was trying to get out of the States. So of course, I'm not saying anybody's always right. I'm just simply saying that when you actually try to maintain some integrity at the very least, that's a decision you don't wind up regretting later on. That's what I'm trying to get at. To answer your question, Blasian, what I find is not so much outright racism. What I find here is mostly just that there's a preference that, like, these guys have a preference for the palest women. And Like they look at people of African descent as just being less attractive to marry, but there's no dehumanizing uh, or hatred, nothing like that. Here they don't understand why a police officer would ticket a black person and let a white person go. They don't have that concept. Now you do have tribalism here, regardless of race. You do have tribalism in certain parts, in Bedouin areas, and where I live is Bedouin. You got tribalism. They don't. They just don't play that. Now, most of the people here call themselves white. If the subject of race comes up, they assume that they're white. And there are times I've had to tell them that real white folks laugh at them just for saying that, just for thinking that. I've had some to scoff or to laugh when I told them that I don't consider white women for marriage, and I don't consider Arab women for marriage who call themselves white. Some of them have laughed like, "Why? What's wrong with that?" And I say, "Well, do you consider black women?" And of course, when I say black, I'm counting even admixture. I say, "Well, do you consider black women for marriage?" No. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then why should I consider you all? And that's true. I heard about that. North Indians do have a problem with South Indians, and one of the reasons is that that South Indians don't have as much of a hatred for people of African origin as Northerners do. It was a Southerner that told me that it was actually on this channel. We went live here on StreamYard. His name is Torch Blaze. He's from Trivandrum, Kerala, and he was telling us about the differences between South India and North India, and how it's very true that many Indians have something against people of African origin, but they're usually not South Indians. He was telling us about that and breaking that down for us, because of the narrative that everybody hates black people automatically. If you're not black, then you're expected to hate black folks, and if you're part black, you're expected to hate those of no admixture. That narrative, that idea, and he was shooting that down. To answer your question, J-Ham, how's everything going, man? I don't walk around with a hatred of black NOI women. I simply don't. I simply don't believe the same thing they believe, but I really don't think about them at all much, to be honest. I don't know them. I've seen some before, but I don't really know them and just don't have much of an idea of them. But I know that our beliefs are different. I am a Sunni, and they have a different set of beliefs. So in terms of religion, no, we don't believe the same thing. They believe that God came in the form of a man. I have the same belief that Charles Irby and Abdullah bin Babi Atayyib here have, that there's no comparison between any creation and Allah, the creator. There's no resemblance, no comparison, and that God never appeared as a man, nor has any man ever been God. So, yeah, that lesson about integrity was really all I wanted to tell you guys. And that's why this is going to be part of my redemption series. And I do want my kinfolk to know, the one that recently became Muslim, I want him to understand that he's been through these tests before anyway. And there are going to be some more tests like this to come up. But it will be a duty, kinfolk, if you're listening, it will be a duty on you to pass this test even more excellently after you've taken your Shahada and accepted Islam than it would be, than how well you would have passed it before when you were under the church. This is incumbent upon you, incumbent upon all of us. Everyone has to face the test, but our job is to be the best at passing it. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys is that it does pay off. I mean, of course, there's a reward in the end. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not sitting up here preaching from a soapbox. I'm telling you guys that one of the reasons why I passed them or I have passed them, I should say. I'm not saying it's a routine that I pass them. But one reason that I have ever passed any of these tests of integrity, the main reason actually, is because I'm a coward. Physically speaking, I'm a coward in the face of torture. Now, none of us wants to burn our fingertip on a hot light bulb. And you would never do this intentionally, not you listening, not me. We certainly would not burn our hand on the stove intentionally. So you can imagine how cowardly afraid I am of being cooked alive everywhere. Not just the hand, but just completely. And so therefore, that's why it is that I have to be careful. If I don't want this to happen, I've got to pass test of integrity. And we all do. But the reason, how's it going, LSP? How's everything? The reason is because usually integrity involves somebody else's rights. It usually does. See, when I'm dealing with my students, some people say, well, who cares if they cheat? But here's the thing, though. It's my responsibility to not let a cheater get the same result as a student that didn't cheat. Because if I turn a blind eye, then that's not fair to the student that studied. And that's when it comes to violating somebody else's rights, that's why I become a coward. Because if I do something and there's no victim to it, then I got a chance that maybe on resurrection day, my Lord won't even mention it in front of anybody else and may not even ask me about it. There's a chance he'd forgive me. But if it's somebody else's rights and I help to step and infringe on them, I don't have that option. That's the thing. And since there's some folks from the golden sphere in here, I'm going to point out that when it appears that I've been an unfair judge in the eyes of some of the ladies in the golden sphere, thinking that I'm just, partial to men strictly because they're men, the real truth is this. And I'll explain this to y'all that are here from the golden sphere. The real truth is, when it comes down to grudges and arguments between some of the men and the women in the sphere, if a man is wrong about something, I have the option to go into his DMs if I know him well enough, especially if he's, let's say if he's in Discord or some of the other platforms or Facebook. I have the option to go into the DMs and defend the lady. If he's wrong and the lady's right, I can go in and defend her or give him a correction privately. I have that option because I'm not going to slide into a guy's DMs. I'm not going to slide in trying to flirt. I'm not going to creep him out. If a lady's in violation, or if I disagree with something about what a lady's done, I can be silent, and a lot of times I have, or I can say out loud, I don't agree with that. And that's because I can't go slide into a lady's DMs. Even if I'm trying to be a peacemaker and an arbiter of disputes, I can't slide in a lady's DMs like that. It's inappropriate. And frankly, men and women are unpredictable when they're angry. If a lady's angry with someone else and I go slide into DMs trying to be a peacemaker and she's angry with me, at least I know the guy's not going to say, well, he's sliding in my DMs trying to get with me. I don't know what a lady's going to say. And a man can never prove that he's not trying to be inappropriate with a lady with whom he has no right. And he can't prove that. Once the accusation is leveled against a man, that's it. And we all know that MLS or golden men are even more single than men of less admixture. We know that. Of all men of African descent, we're the most single. You can see that in the sphere. Most of the ladies in the sphere got somebody. In a relationship, engaged and married. Most of the men are single. So we can see that. And so since everyone knows that, you take a guy like me in that sphere sliding into a lady's DMs, even if it's to be a peacemaker, and she decides, you know what? I'm going to tell everybody you harassing me and creeping me out. I don't have any proof that I didn't unless I show screenshots of a whole conversation. And frankly, I don't remember how to save screenshots. I'm sure it's a simple process. I just don't remember how to do it. So when some of the ladies that think that I'm up here trying to not have any integrity and just side with the guys, in reality, it's that when I do side with him, I can defend him publicly. When I don't, we can discuss it privately. When it's a lady, I've got two options if I disagree. I can say I disagree and be polite about it, or I can say nothing at all. And if I agree with her, then I can defend her publicly. The other thing, too, is that Part of integrity means that you don't jump into the middle of everything when you don't know what's going on. And if you do jump in, you jump in giving them the option of arbitration and peacemaking first. And I won't lie, a lot of these internal grudges going on, they're just hard to follow. And as I stated before in the beginning of this live stream, I've been busy from really from the beginning of December. I was just tied up. We were getting ready for exams, and in the second half of December were the exams, and then first half of January was the couples trip. My wife and I took it. And I'm not, this social media is great as long as you're using it to enhance your real life, but it's not supposed to be for the purpose of living. It's not the life you live. It's just the means to enhance your real life. So if I'm supposed to spend all my time caught up in these beefs on social media and different platforms, am I supposed to be on a couple's vacation with my wife and in-laws with my nose buried in the phone or a laptop the whole time, typing, arguing while we're on vacation? How fair is that to my family and even to my in-laws? Is that fair to them? See, I got a greater obligation. I got obligations to be fair even through social media, but my greatest obligation is to my family. It's to my kids, to my wife, to my parents, and then my sibling, as far as I know, in that order. So when I'm sitting up here talking about maintaining integrity in the face of opposition and why it's actually worth it even in this life, because when people are corrupt, they get caught. And corrupt people don't get caught and then fuck the shuck up and, keep the secrets of those who help them, usually. So there's that practical reason. While I'm sitting up here and preaching about this, I'm not unmindful of how it is that I appear to some ladies in the sphere because of their grudge with another man and me not jumping out in public and barking and growling at him because I had the means to discuss it privately. I realize that. But I'm not so sure that they're going to understand it. However, I was about to say the griefs. The beefs and the grudges are not my reason like it is somebody else's. I'm not in either of the spheres to just be dumping toxicity. Partially, I was here to tell what the solution is, and I've stated that. And I also came in trying to help even those that don't have the same beliefs as me, trying to give them some sort of benefit in their real life. And when my kinfolk hit me up yesterday and said to me, "Yo, Black, I'm ready to convert," that's the reason, because he made a decision that's going to help him in his real life and his afterlife. That's the reason why I'm doing this. Somebody benefits. The real reason that I don't put my name and face on here isn't to hide, actually, at least not from ridicule. The reason is actually to hide from fame and too much praise. If people want to compliment Black Mind, and people can say, "Well, who the hell is Black Mind?" Okay, you see? And then this way, the only one that's going to look me in the face, well, I shouldn't even say look me in the face, but the only one that's going to directly address me by my name and give me any sort of praise or credit for this is going to be the judge of judges. That's the one whose approval really counts. As far as I'm concerned, in order to maintain integrity, your rights have to come before your feelings, not just for you, but even to me. So I got to put people's rights above even their feelings. Sometimes people have a right to be defended, but they don't want their name mentioned at all, even if it's good. But you know what? Somebody needs to say, no. They didn't do X, Y, and Z. They're not guilty of it. Am I supposed to fuck the shuck up and not say anything? If they're blamed for something I know they didn't do, am I supposed to fuck the shuck up and not say anything while they're blamed just because they said don't mention my name even if it's good? I have to put their rights over their feelings, their rights over their wants. And that's right, J-Ham. The message is more important than the messenger. If people praise me by my real name, then I could stand up on Resurrection Day trying to brag or trying to use these deeds and say, yeah, look, Lord, they benefited, that one benefited, that one benefited. And he could easily say to me, they did. But you didn't do it for their benefit. You did it so that they would say these things about you, and they've already said them. So you've got nothing left. Go burn. So just to make sure that subconsciously I'm not doing it for these reasons of recognition of other people, you have the avatar and you've got the moniker. And frankly, right now, I've got more, I have more of a sympathetic audience than I do enemies. So if I were to cam up and put out my real name, I wouldn't even face that much scrutiny. The scrutiny that I would face would be far outweighed by the sympathetic audience and the support. And I appreciate those who have supported, not because of me, but again, because of the message. So I do appreciate the support. I ask y'all to hit the share button, and some of y'all did. And that's the reason for it. And it's not because I'm brave and it's not because I'm virtuous. It's because, like I said, physically, I'm a coward and I'm afraid of being cooked alive. What's going on, hostile? And that's really the reason I'm doing it. It's worth it to hedge my bets against that fire whose fuel is men and stones. It's worth it to go ahead, try to put some benefit out there without my name and my face associated with it, so that when I go through airports and walk down, ain't nobody stopping me and, oh, hey, that's X, Y, and Z. None of that. That's not where. And as a matter of fact, I remember being, when I was flying out of the US the last time, at the end of my summer vacation, I flew through one of the airports through which I flew was the Houston airport. And, you know, I saw this Whataburger there, and I said, well, this is the last time in probably 2 years I'm going to have a chance to get this Whataburger, unless they open up franchises in the Gulf, which they haven't. You got Popeyes here. You got Church's, which is called Texas Chicken here, throughout the Gulf. You got all kinds, but I thought, well, you know, they ain't got no Whataburger. And those of you that are from, well, actually, I think they're in different places now, but those of you in the Southeast, y'all know about that Whataburger. What a burger. Y'all know about that. Those of you in Gulfport and Biloxi, y'all know about the Whataburger there. So I said, this is my last time to get some. So I went up and, you know, I had a long time before the next flight was going to leave. So I went, made my little order. And this brother man next to me who worked at the airport said, hey, why do you sound so familiar? He wasn't hostile. He wasn't angry. But I mean, he seemed pretty happy and friendly about it. And I thought about it. And the reason actually that I said to him, well, have you been listening? Yeah, I had to get the vax too. I did. I had to get the vax just to leave where I live. So I actually asked him if he had been listening to Kevin Samuels lately. Because I thought he might, when I mentioned it, I thought, well, you know, the chances are that he's going to, he might get hostile. Like, oh, that's who you down with him? That was why. And I was trying not to hide when I thought there'd be opposition. But in actuality, when I said you listen to Kevin Samuels much, he was like, oh, yeah, I do. Listen to him while I'm working. And then I said, okay, all right. So you probably listen to other people that have mentioned him. And he said, yeah. Oh, yeah, you did mention him. What's your channel again? So then he handed me the phone and I typed in Black Mind. I told him that's the channel. And he was happy to meet me in the end. There was no hostility. I thought actually, and initially, that there was going to be not fire, but smoke. If I'd known it was going to be a fan, I probably would have said, something about how I probably would have said, well, I've been on some live streams before. It's not because I hate myself. It's just because in the end, when you've done a good deed and nobody knows you've done it, that's when you can say you did it because it's the right thing to do. You don't have to worry about standing in front of the judge of judges and him looking and saying, yeah, but see, in the back of your mind, subconscious mind, I knew about it, but you didn't. There was your vanity, there was your pride involved. Because there's a difference between pursuing a clean conscience and trying to satisfy your pride and your ego. And usually that difference is not pursuing the approval of other people. That's the difference. So I can't expose myself in a way that would seek their approval. How's it going, Ace 3567? You really broke it down last time you were on that I went live and you came on the panel. So that's all I want to say. That's my little sermon about integrity in the face of opposition. I'm just saying all that to say that in addition to it counting in immaterial ways and in the by and by, you oftentimes will see how there's something to be said for maintaining it even now in this life before you hit the grave. You watch people save some time or save some money, and then you watch them get caught. And at that point, you understand you should have a sense of relief. And you have to understand that when they do get caught, the only reason they're not going to grab anyone whose name they don't throw out there will only be because they know that they're going to look stupid in the end if they put some of these names out there. That's why. And so when people come to you and ask you to do something corrupt, one, why should you trust them to not be setting you up at that time or testing you? And then two, if you make the right moral decision, not only are you going to sleep better, but when they get busted, if they're really benefiting somehow in the short term from making a wrong decision, just understand they're going to get busted. And frankly, I don't have a problem with any of you ratting them out yourself. I'm not one of those guys that says no snitching. And that's something you do when you're fighting some revolution for a worthwhile cause. Then that's when the no snitching ethos applies. Somebody just being corrupt and lazy and trying to get what they don't deserve at the expense of somebody else's rights who do deserve it. No, snitch, please. Absolutely. And to see, when I do have to supervise an exam in a classroom, and I usually don't have to, but when I have to supervise an exam in a classroom and I catch someone cheating, not only is that person in trouble, but the one sitting behind them who could see them has to answer for not exposing the other one. I don't want to hear the stuff about what if he hits me and fights me. Well, if you tell me he did it, he's not going to hit you and fight you because you're going to be around me. But you're going to let him sit up here and take away what belongs to you. You're not even cheating. You're studying, and you're going to let this kid cheat and surpass you in actual results dishonestly. So that's my sermon. That's my little soapbox. I guess I'll pass around a collection plate now. Thank you all for listening. And if anybody's got any question, go ahead and type it in. If you're typing a question in, just put 3 dots in the chat. If you just need time to finish typing, and then I'll wait. If not, then I'll go ahead and sign off. Yeah, George, that's true. Sometimes the way that you know people have integrity is that they insist on doing their job in a way that's transparent and anybody can see it. But it does make it easy. It really does. When people are watching. And it does count when no one's watching. It's not measured when no one's watching. By definition, no one's watching. But you're right, that's where it counts. Absolutely. That's part of why it is I'm for hidden cameras in certain areas. And one way you can tell how much integrity people have is that you can put them in the room and you can say to them, listen, I've got to go next door for a little bit, but don't think that you can do whatever you want because there is a camera in here. The one that's obsessed with figuring out where the camera is the one that has no integrity. That's how you can catch those who don't have it. So you can walk into a testing room. If those of you who ever have to monitor someone testing, this is a teacher's trick I learned. And you can say, look, there's a camera. The one that looks around trying to find the camera is the one that's going to cheat. So you simply stand where you can watch that particular person and just wait until they cheat. I've learned that. That's one of the ways you catch them. And then they stand up and I swear I didn't cheat. I wasn't cheating. Okay, hold on. Let me go look at the tape. Well, by the way, if I look at the tape and I find out you're lying, you get double the penalty. Man, why you got to make the test so hard? When I was visiting in the Emirates, my wife's friend has a son. He's not even 10 yet. And so they were, and she has a niece too. Niece is not even yet 4. But the niece decided to just pull out some tissue and then just drop it on the floor. So I said to her, hey, stop doing that. So then she immediately decided to run. And I got up and I caught her by the arm. But she started to pull me towards her own mother. So she pulled me towards her mother and said to my sister-in-law, look what he did. Now she's used to doing that. I mean, she's not even 4, but hold up, let me get this, get rid of your dumb behind sitting up here advertising this stuff. Love face XYZ. Now you could eat a fat one, love face. You don't come on my channel with that mess. So, let's see. No argument with your statement regarding the non-vaccinated individuals. Yeah, I can see that. So she was pulling her mom, my sister-in-law, into the living room and saying, look what he did, look what he did. And she tried to blame my wife's friend's son for pulling the tissue out and just throwing it on the floor and leaving the mess. Now, her mom knew that it wasn't him that did it. And I even told her it wasn't him. Wasn't me either. So she immediately picked up this tablet that her daughter has. And she said, well, let me see, because there's a camera in here. How's it going, Spec Stream, and what's happening? She said, well, let me see here, sweetheart, because I have a camera in here. Let me look and see who did it. And when her daughter realized that there was going to be a video recording of who did it, she ran up and she said, I'm sorry, mommy, I'm sorry. So she confessed. The tablet has a camera, I think, but it wasn't pointed at her. But she was already, she even though she's not even yet 4, she's learning to do whatever she wants and then just blame somebody else for it. She's already learned to do that. Now, of course, people can figure out who did it, but she's really, for her age, she's pretty good at trying to put it off on someone else. So what winds up happening is that it's when she knows she's being watched or thinks she's being watched that she realizes she has to shape up. So it's true. Integrity when you don't know anyone's watching, or when you're sure no one is watching, is your real integrity. Now, of course, I'm sure all of us are lacking, because there's certain things I ain't going to do in public. It's not going to happen. But even then, I certainly don't want anybody else to be a victim of anything that I do. And most of us, if we really think about it, most of us feel that same way. We don't want to do something, even if we take a few shortcuts ourselves, we don't want to do it in a way that's going to infringe on somebody else's right. We certainly don't. You may take shortcuts when you're cleaning up your own house, but you definitely would not try to take shortcuts if you're building somebody else's. Most of you wouldn't want to do that. You don't want something you built to fall in on its inhabitants for whom you built it. Most of us, if we really think about it, that's how we are. And that's why I say when you catch somebody else doing something and it infringes on somebody else's rights, go ahead and rat them out. Because a lot of people are not willing to have any kind of integrity, even decent integrity from within. So that being said, let me see. All right. So yeah, that being said, I don't think anyone's got any questions. So I appreciate that, and I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and from the depth of my black mind. Thank you all for tuning in, and hit the share button for the playback too. And as I usually say, oh wait, we got a troll in for real? Hold on. Let me see. Let's see if I can find this troll. I know I blocked one person. Okay, no, I don't. It's not showing up. It may be some. I don't know, but it's not showing up for me. No, no particular troll is showing up. What I see the bot that was doing those nasty advertisements. I can't see Lovelace though. That's something. How is Lovelace in my comment section and I can't see him or her? I actually cannot. Ace, you got a wrench. If you're able to see Lovelace, would you be able to expose what you're saying? Or he's saying? Oh, love face. I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, I got I think I got, well, I went ahead and hit the button to block. Let me see if I can do that. Let me see if I can do a permanent block. All right, put user in timeout again. So I did that. So as I usually say, what's going on, A. LaRue? What, as I always say, thanks for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. And black, heterosexual, non-select male power, by extension, MLS too. And black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.